I could do that. I could make that throw.
So you could
make that throw.
You could make a throw rolling to your right 40 yards down the field right
on a
now
dime, man.
as a 40-year-old man.
Yes, I can. Heck yeah. Give it to me. Pass it over those mountains, man.
You would get sacked immediately. Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman. See Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy.
All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network. And we have a sweet sponsor in Manhattan Bank. If you haven't heard, Manhattan Bank came on with us in this season, and they've been sponsoring our podcast. They have 4 locations: Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, Three Forks, taking care of all your banking needs in the Gallatin County. Awesome bank, awesome people over there. Talk to Justin and company. Get your banking needs taken care of over there at Manhattan Bank. Thorny, we are here in the quarterfinals. That's what it is, right? The quarterfinals.
Yes.
All right.
Because the next one's the semifinals, and then the national championship.
Okay.
I just take a step back and think about it, but you're right. Do the math, crunch the numbers.
Dude,
talk to our analysts.
These Bobcats, we are built for the playoffs. It feels like that's like, I don't know. I was reflecting on that today. It just seems like these cats, this iteration, this team, this coaching, we're built for postseason play.
Absolutely, it does. It seems like this has kind of been what we've been building towards all season. We're getting healthy at the right time. It just feels like we're peaking. Everything is culminating right when you want it to. Man, it's awesome. It's an awesome time to be a part of this as a Bobcat fan, just cheering them on, watching them get better seemingly every game.
It feels like this might be the golden era of the Bobcats.
Yeah. I can't argue with that. As confident as I've been in the playoffs probably ever.
Correct. Yes, I would say that. Well, all right, listener, thanks for joining us again. If you haven't listened in, I've been trying to do a better job of this, just explaining who we are. We are 2 Montana State alumni who started this podcast back in 2018. So a lot of you have been listening for a couple of years. We appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys.
And the new listeners, we appreciate you coming on as well. We have a episode today. We're going to do a little bit of a recap for Weber. We did put out a instant reaction show last night that Thorny got promptly out this morning. Well done, buddy, on the Weber State. But we'll probably go a little bit more in depth in that. We'll at least get into the stats. I know that for sure. And then we'll talk about the presser Coach Vegan had today, a short one. They're normally like 30 minutes long. This one was only about 18 minutes long. Not much going on in that one. There is some news about Willie Mack Garza we'll touch on. And Sonny Holland, Bobcat legend, the greatest Bobcat of all time, passed away today at the age of 84. And so we want to, honor him and give our condolences and thoughts to his family. So we just wanted to mention that. I know Montana State is going to be having a special sticker on their helmet to commemorate him. And just kind of a sobering thought. I did not know a lot about Sonny Holland, but I thought Coulter Duanis did a nice job at, kind of memorializing him on his show today.
No, I mean, I agree. Like, I don't know a ton about Sonny Holland. I'm probably a terrible Bobcat fan for not knowing that, just being kind of a younger fan. He was well before my time as a Bobcat fan, but you knew his name. It's the Sonny Holland end zone. And now there's a statue of Sonny Holland outside the stadium. And, he was a part of 3 national championships. As a coach and a player at Montana State, he's been part of the program forever. And, it's a sad day when an absolute legend like that passes away. Many considered him the greatest Bobcat of all time. And just our condolences to Bobcat fans, to the Holland family and friends, and everyone out there who is mourning the loss of a great, true Bobcat legend.
Well stated. All right. Well, then the meat of the show will probably be talking about William and Mary, our quarterfinal opponent, coming to Bozeman to play Friday night, 8:15 kickoff in Montana, 7:15 Pacific Coast time. I know you keep saying the yuck, man. I love it. I'm all about that.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, being there, how awful it would be to be there in that cold weather. It's great if you're just sitting there watching on TV. That's also right in the middle, like right before my kids' bedtime. So I'm going to have to miss probably an hour of the game doing bedtime duties. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'll figure something out. But yeah, just not ideal. But it's on ESPN2 in like a relatively primetime spot. A little late, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Montana State's going to get some nice airtime on ESPN. I'm happy about that. I'm looking up where William and Mary is at. They're in Williamsburg, Virginia. So they're coming all the way from the East Coast over to Bozeman. They're going to be tired, man. It's going to be like 10 o'clock their time when we hit kickoff time.
Yeah, I heard they're coming over on Wednesday to try and, assume, to acclimate a little bit to the time zone change, the weather, whatever. So yeah, I think it's smart in this kind of situation. If you can afford it, if you have the luxury of doing that, come out a couple days early. It's probably going to benefit you. Maybe do a little bit of sightseeing while you're out there.
Let's pull up my weather app real quick for Bozeman. Those boys are going to step off the plane. Low on Wednesday is 12 degrees, high of 29. Thursday, low of 9, high of 30. And then Friday, low of 15, high of 30. So overnight lows don't look terrible. It's not like the lows we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Actually, the field will probably be in better condition than it has been, I would imagine.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly against Weber State, the frozen tundra there. But also looking at this, Williamsburg, Virginia, elevation 82 feet, obviously sea level. So that's going to be a big change for them coming. Time zone change, temperature change, and elevation change.
Well, I think they won't have a problem adjusting to the cold once the game gets started. Although I might be wrong. That might actually be a real thing. Advantage Bobcats, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much, but if there's going to be an advantage, yes. But who knows if that's a real thing or not? The teams come out and they get juiced, they get the adrenaline going. The cold doesn't really matter all that much once you take your first hit.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's weird to me how confident Montana State fans are right now. I mean,
weird or surprising?
You and I interact on. Surprising, I suppose, is the word, because I don't think we've ever lived in this land. Like, I think we should be confident, but it doesn't come natural to me.
No, I agree. Like, there's still part of me holding on to that old, hey, we're the underdogs, even if we're the higher seed, we're just still like, oh, we're lucky to be here kind of mentality. Like, it's gone. And that vegans toss that aside. Fans are starting to follow suit a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, uncharted territory a little bit. Like, just being confident going into every single playoff game. Like, hey, we should win this game. And this is one of those games I'm feeling that way. And Bobcat Nation is absolutely feeling that way right now. A little more so than they probably should. And we'll get into that. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Bobcat fan because you got that confidence, and Vegan has given us no reason to not be confident. The team, the performance, the season we've had, we should be confident.
I feel confident. I feel good. And I've just been having trouble accepting that confidence. I think I'm just going to accept it now. I'm just going to bring it on. Just pour it over me. We're going to win, man. I think we need to have respect for our opponents. That's one thing. So there is some fans on like Bobcat Nation. They're just spousing off right now. And you're just like, come on, man. Just those guys like, hey, if I was having a tailgate over in Bozeman and William and Mary showed up, those guys have beers on me all night long. Food, anything, I got you. You're making the trip. Welcome to Bozeman.
Now we're kind of going off the rails here before we even start talking about what is in our golden coolies here. But I will just say, take caution. I take caution anytime that you're dismissing a team because they play in what you perceive as an inferior conference. That doesn't mean that they aren't a good football team.
Yeah.
There can be absolutely a dynamo team in a bad conference. That is a very, very real situation.
I kind of missed the opportunity to maybe talk to someone from William and Mary. We normally do that. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems way too hard to line that up, especially if they're on the East Coast and someone's over there on the East Coast. The time zone will never work for our show.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But I didn't even try this
We're
time.
a late night show.
If we make it to the next one, I know that there are some South Dakota State podcasts that are easy to reach out to. So we could do something if we make it past the Tribe.
Assuming South Dakota State takes care of Samford. Is that right? I can't remember.
Holy Cross.
But yeah. Holy Cross.
Which makes you just want to sing Holy Diver every time I hear it to the tune of Holy Cross. You're welcome if I just planted that into your head. If you don't know what Holy Diver is, well, you're probably lucky, to be honest with you. All right. 10 minutes into this, we haven't done anything.
Jeez.
We're on a tear.
I've been listening to a little bit. Yeah, let's just go into our golden coolies. What's in our golden coolies, Thorny?
What's in your golden coolie?
What a great transition that was. I have and I say this different every time, and I was actually Googling how to pronounce it beforehand. Elysian. I don't know how to say the brewery, man.
Elysian. Stay with me.
Are you sure? How are you positive? How do you know that?
I have this confidence within me that it's Elysian.
Elysian Bifrost Winter Ale, because I am literally down to the last 2 beers in my fridge, and they're both this, and I'm drinking both of them tonight. I've had this. Was this for Cat Grizz? I had this before a game.
Oh, man,
I've had it one.
I feel like you need to actually go buy beer one of these days.
You drink Rainier for 4 weeks straight. I don't want to hear anything from you, buddy. This is the second time I've had this on the show. You give me crap every single time that I've had a beer one other time, like a month ago, and Mr. Drank Rainier like 3-4 weeks in a row. I don't want to hear it. All right. It's a good beer. It's still good luck. And the Bifrost thing, it's got like a nice can with like frigid trees on it and stuff. That's going to be perfect for Friday for William and Mary coming up here and getting all frosty. So I'm happy with it. You got a Rainier? You're drinking Rainier?
It's my secondary.
Okay. He was showing it to me on the camera for those not watching, nobody's watching. So for everybody else, he was showing me a Rainier.
Oh, man. Do you think we'll ever go live stream?
I kind of want to at some point. I kind of do.
Maybe you should leave it up to the fans if they want to see us live stream or not.
All right. So I've been debating to putting this on a poll forever for the fear of people would say yes, but there it is. If you ever want to see us do like a live stream video of some kind for any situation, hit us up, let us know. We'll take it into consideration.
I would like to see like more fan interaction, like get some fans like talking on the Catcast and whatnot. Not just golden coolie questions, but it'd be kind of fun.
That'd be a way.
Anyways, all right. I went to Perry Street last night to prepare for tonight. I was doing some stats and just looking at some William and Mary stuff, and they put out a new beer that I got a growler full called the Dunkel. I think they call it the Drunkle, but I think that's kind of a stupid name, so I'm just going to call it the Dunkel. And it's malty, dark, chocolatey. It's delicious. It's like 5.9%. Just what you would like, Thorny.
What is multi-dark?
Really good, man. What's that?
What does multi-dark mean? More than one dark?
I said multi.
Yeah, what is...
Multi.
Oh, multi. Even when you just said it again, I heard multi, like M-U-L-T-I. I was like, what are you talking about? More than one dark.
Probably
Many
my fault.
darks. Okay. Yeah, that does sound like a beer I would enjoy. I love dark beer. I love right around that 6.5% alcohol content.
Yeah.
Mwah. All right.
Delicious. My wife is even having a pint of it.
There's a burp. You burped. I have to edit those out, man. Just FYI. Your mic has a mute button on it. You should hit that and then burp and then unmute yourself.
At this point, I think we just leave everything in.
No, I edit all those out. You'll be horrified if I didn't. Anyway, let's move on, man. I'm keeping that discussion in. What's next? Steer this ship.
Well, let's talk about the presser. So Coach Vegan had a presser. Does he do it in the morning? Because he always texts me like information about it, right when I'm teaching like second period.
Jeff Choates used to be
Must be
live
happening.
broadcast. They aren't with Vegan. I don't know when they start. I think it's around 10:30 our time. Seems to be when stuff starts pouring out on Twitter. Between 10 and 11, I think. Somewhere in there.
Normally I have some like good, like a nugget or two from this press conference, but I don't. It was pretty basic. I mean, he spent some time talking about Sonny Holland and what that means to the team. There was a couple questions from Alex and Victor about that. And all I gathered was they're going to wear, like I said, a sticker to commemorate Sonny Holland. And then they talked to him about the schedule, how he said you just kind of reset your clock. You push everything a day forward. Typically the team gets Sunday off. And so they brought the guys in on Sunday. And then he said it's kind of business as usual. They know how to navigate that late day. They've had a couple games already that have had that 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30 start time.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be good to go. So that's kind of all I picked up. We normally talk about some sort of injuries. For once, we didn't have any injuries come out.
That's the biggest takeaway to me is that there's no new injuries. That's a miracle. Right? That's like the first one.
Well, and then there was the surprising news that Willie Mac Garza is going to be calling plays again. And that was the way he handled it was just so a matter of fact. Someone said, oh, how do you like Bobby Daly? Bobby Daly did a great job. So is he going to be on the call again? No, we're going to go back to Willie.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know how I feel about, basically Vegan said, like, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly what he said, but like the worst punishment you can give a coach is not having him be out there with his guys calling plays on game day. Basically, he made it sound, and he also said in a couple other, internal things or something like that, but he made it sound like basically a one game suspension for right now was enough. That was enough punishment for Willie Mac Garza, and I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure I agree with the guy who got this is all allegedly, I guess. There hasn't been any whatever conviction or whatever, but allegedly got his third DUI. Vegan talked about it when he hired him because that came up. His past came up, and Vegan, second chance and all that good stuff. And here he is. He got another one allegedly, and I just don't love how he handled it. It just seemed a little too matter-of-factly for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It doesn't feel right. I know a lot of Bobcat supporters don't feel okay with it right now. Do you think, in your estimation, that this is a blind spot for Vegan because of his affection for Willie Mac?
I don't know. I might just be a blind spot, and just Vegan is just a nice guy, and he doesn't want to do the tough thing on this, or maybe it's just some sort of contractual thing, and if they let him go while he's in a contract without any sort of conviction or anything like that, then it's opens him up for a lawsuit later. Maybe they're playing it smart and from that angle. I don't know. I don't want to speculate on anything. It's not a great look, is all it boils down to me, that it was just a one-game suspension for a guy who got his third DUI.
Yeah. I don't think the play calling is going to be all that different. I don't think that if it's going to affect the play on the field. It's just not a good look. Like the optics of it, it's just off. I don't know in like the 30,000 foot view if Willie Mack is the answer going forward. I mean, look, I was trying to find like where Montana ranks in defense. You're right, Thorny. Like I kind of I talked to you last week. You said Montana State's not a top 30 defense. We're not top 30 defense.
No, we're like middle of the pack, like in the 40s and 50s on a lot of stuff nationally.
Yeah, and you know who has like top rated defenses? South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Sac State. A lot of these other
William
teams,
and
Weber
Mary
State had, William and Mary
scoring defense anyway.
Well, yeah. So it's
the most important one.
I was a little bit surprised when I started like digging into the data last night. I was like, oh man.
Montana State by far is
not
the outlier when it comes to teams left in the playoffs defensively. Everyone else is like pretty good up there, and there's like Montana State, like, hey guys, just hanging out way back there. But our scoring differential is probably better than half of them, like how much we win by. So, does it all matter? I don't know. We'll find out. But that could be the downfall as we go through it. So, back to your point, real quick. We wrap the discussion. Yeah, I don't know if Garza is going to be retained or not. I imagine with this situation, I can't imagine he will be, because the performance has been average, and with that off the field issue, we'll see.
All right, man. All the best to Willie Mack. To be honest with you, I mean, guy, we wish you well, man.
Yep.
We really do. All right. Hey, let's get into the stats, because I know that's what you like to do. Stats.
All right. Well, to get onto the game, the victory in Bozeman, 33-25, your Montana State Bobcats take down the sequel. Weber State comes back to Bozeman the second time in like 6 weeks or whatever, ended up being able to handle them again, 33-25, like I said. So let's run down some of the stats here. Bobcats roll up 30 first downs in this one. That is a big number. To Weber State 16. Cats are 6 of 13 on third down, while Weber State was 5 of 11. So both teams hovering just under 50%. 554 total yards for the Bobcats, 166 through the air, and 388 on the ground. Weber State, who ran for like 330 some odd yards against North Dakota, was only able to get 124 yards against the Bobcats. They did go for 4.6 yards per carry, which is pretty decent, but just 124 yards there and 193 through the air with the interception thrown there by Weber State. 2 penalties each, just for 10 yards, so a couple procedural penalties. I don't remember exactly what they were, but yeah, just 2 for 10 for both teams, so penalties are pretty much a non-factor in this one. Time of possession, 38 minutes and 18 seconds for the Bobcats. Man, that is pretty dominant. That leaves Weber State with just 21 minutes and 42 seconds to get things going. So, pretty dominant performance. Statistically, when you're looking across there, the scoreboard, closer than the stats would indicate, and we'll talk about why they ended up that way. But pretty dominant performance by the Bobcats overall.
Weber was 2 for 2 in the red zone. Montana State was 5 for 6. We missed that 49-yard field goal from Stones. That was his only blemish in the last month or two. So super impressed with him. They had 1 sack for 9 yards, which I think was at the Sean Chambers.
It had to be the Sean Chambers, like, weird reverse thing.
Yeah. We had 2 sacks for 12 yards, both from Ty Okada. And let's see. So let's get into some personal stats. Tommy Malott was 13 for 19 passing, 91 yards, 21 carries for 167 with a long of 32 for rushing. So Tommy Malott goes over. Thorny, can you see right there? Is it 167? Did I write that down right? Or is it 116?
For rushing yards for Tommy?
Terrible hand. Yeah.
167, man. We're on a computer right now. I don't know why you go transpose all this stuff and then you come back and you can't read your own handwriting. But
It's old school.
yeah,
It's the way I like
gonna
to do it. Fonse was 10 carries for 91 yards. Man, it was just good to see that guy back. He's his presser today. We were talking about this before. The way that we don't get to, I haven't seen Fonse talk all that much. He's just a really pleasant guy to listen to. Well, like he's articulate and happy. You know, he has a good vibe to him. I like that. It's Sean Chambers, 2 for 2, 75 yards, two touchdowns, and then he had 14 carries for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. All that guy does is score touchdowns. I mean, he gets in once in a while, but all he does is score touchdowns. It's just I keep laughing at him. Like he just piles them up. Like they're like, oh yeah, 3 here, couple there.
No offense to Tommy
Impressive, dude.
Millot, but should it not be touchdown Sean?
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Scoring Sean.
Elijah Elliott. He had 6 carries, 34 yards. Willie Patterson had 3 catches, 54 or 53 with a long of 47. That was that dime from Chambers. Man, that was such a good throw. Talk about throwing across the field and putting it right on him. Perfect. Taco Dowler had 3 for 44. Derek Snell had 2 for 42 with a touchdown reception from Chambers as well. Stones was 4 for 5. He had makes from 36, 33, 31, and 34 from both sides of the field.
Yeah.
He just doesn't matter, man. It's just so good.
It was beautiful.
He had that miss from 49, although I think if he would have put it on target, it might have been blocked. Weber had a really good approach on that one. So he might have been trying to pull it there just a little bit.
Hey, speaking of which, when Glessner lined up for his first field goal, did you have flashbacks of the blocked kick last time? Because I did. I was like, please don't block
I can't say I did, man.
Yeah.
So Bronson Barron. Now we're moving over to Weber's side. Bronson was 9 of 13. Both actually, Kylan Weiser and Bronson Barron were both 9 of 13. Bronson had 82 yards with 2 touchdowns. No, excuse me, with 1 touchdown. And Kylan Weiser was 9 of 13 with 111. He hit a hot streak there in the fourth quarter. He had 2 touchdowns. The guy I was really concerned about, 2 guys I was really concerned about, Dante McMillan and Josh Davis. Dante McMillan was 9 for 56. He had a long of 20 right there in the fourth quarter. So we really bottled him up. Josh Davis was only 6 for 29. That was a guy we were both really concerned about. Bankston didn't do much either. Ty McPherson, he didn't drop anything this week. He had 5 catches for 59 yards with a long of 19 with 1 touchdown. Josh Christensen was 3 for 45 with 1 touchdown. And Abraham Williams, their star returner, had 5 returns for a total of 94 yards. That sounds like a lot, but he had a long of 24. So special teams was doing a really good job bottling up Abraham Williams and the punt return game as well. So
they didn't return a single
I didn't
punt.
mention any of our Danny Yu had an interception off the head of Jeff Manning. Headbutted it. That's such a funny looking play. And then Ty Okada, 6 tackles with 2 sacks, man. Ty had himself a game.
It's good to see.
He was in good position that game.
Yeah.
The way they used him, they just put him in a better position to succeed.
It was good seeing him wreaking havoc in the backfield because that's what he did so well last year. Like coming off of corner blitzes and just sticking his nose in there. Like he just hasn't done that this year. So there's the question. Was that something that would have happened anyway? Or was that a Bobby Daly wrinkle?
Yeah, I'm not sure, man.
Because
I liked it though.
He had 0 sacks all year long, and then all of a sudden he had 2 in one game with a new defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't know. I don't know whose hands were on that one, but I love it.
We almost didn't punt for the 3rd game in a row.
I know. Just one punt.
Bryce Layton came on when we couldn't convert. We were 2nd and 1, and we couldn't convert.
That was bad.
Yeah. Put Sean Chambers in there. Just get him the first down. That was weird.
Yeah.
So, it's the only time I've seen us go 3 and out. Since.
Yeah, that's a rarity
Arizona
anymore. Yeah, that's a rarity. That's a good stat to research. If I remember in half time, how often the Cats go 3 and out. I don't think it's very often.
Go look back at Montana State's drives since Northern Arizona.
Is it just touchdowns and field goals?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then victory formations when we're not doing them.
Taking a knee. Yeah, man. It was let's just get into the game, man. We had control of this game. It was the first half was still relatively close, but you just felt like the Bobcats were the better team. We just kept stalling out in the red zone. Our red zone offense was terrible. And it's 13-10, and we drove down, and we're going to kick a field goal before halftime before Jay Hill called all three of his timeouts to try and ice Stone's Glessner, and each one more and more booze, and then Jay Hill finally on the last one is kind of egging the crowd on with a smile on his face. I don't give him too much crap for that. I did post on Twitter that the Bobcats scored 20 straight points after he did that. But, it was all in good fun. Like, I wasn't legitimately upset about it or anything.
Track.
Not that anyone's keeping score. But, yeah, so 16 to 10 at halftime. I'm just kind of curious. How are you feeling at halftime? I guess you hadn't even watched the game at that point. You were relying on me
I was at my son's.
blasting you text updates.
Yeah, you did a great job of that too, man. I wasn't responding because I was driving in and out of Spokane to Liberty Lake, and I was, doing my son's basketball games.
I was trying to keep it very play-by-play-y and not like shit, stuff like that.
Yeah, you did a good job of withholding the negativity. And it's okay to be negative when we deserve it. But yeah, no, I was feeling pretty good. I was nervous. Like, I thought Saturday was going to go well for me. It didn't. I got up early and I had that, the nervous feelings, the nervous tummy. I was like, oh man, this is big game. We were like, all of a sudden I was like, our season can end today if this doesn't go our way. And the time I woke up to game time just took forever. It's one of those days where you just vacuum your house, you find some chores to do, you unload the dishwasher kind of day, and you're just like, man, I gotta wait for game time. You like go on a run, and I was just doing all the things I could do to keep my mind busy, but game time would not come fast enough. And then I had to go to my son's basketball game, like I just said. I couldn't watch the game because, I want to be a good dad, tune into what Miles is doing out there on the court. And I didn't get home until halftime. How are you feeling?
I was feeling pretty good. Like I said, I think the Bobcats were in control of the game. And, Weber State had a couple nice drives there. But overall, I thought we were doing a pretty good job. It just seemed like a nice, clean game. And the Bobcats were the better team and that we were eventually going to pull away. So I was feeling pretty good. I was happy we scored right before halftime, and then we stopped them from scoring right before halftime. So that's always like a bugaboo for you and me, right? If we give up any points before halftime, but we were the team that scored before halftime. So that was a good boost, and I knew we were getting the ball back in the second half. So that was also, all right, we get the ball back. If we score right away, you're feeling real good.
How do you think we used Defonse?
So we have a Golden Coolie question about this. So let's go ahead and we forgot to ask for Golden Coolie questions, so we only have one to answer, so let's just do it right now because it's very pertinent. Shay Richter on Twitter asks us, what was the worst part of having Afonso back in the lineup, and what was the best part? So that's a pretty good transition in the question that you just asked. I thought we used him pretty well. There were some times where it seemed like we kind of went back to just handing it off to Afonso in a uncreative manner and having him just smash into the middle, which is what we saw last year. I don't know if that would have been the same game plan if it was somebody else. I don't know the answer to that. But there were some times where Afonso is like, yeah, I'm not sure that's the call I would do there. It's hard to say if that was Afonso, but overall, I was pleased with how they used him. They got him in situations where he could, make some guys miss or run some guys over. And, what did he finish? 10 carries for 90-some yards and like 9 yards a carry. I mean, you can't really argue too much about that.
You can't, but I know Elijah Elliott would have gotten that if Afonso wasn't there. Like, it was good to see Afonso, no doubt. And I want to say, like, the pitch play to him, Tommy Malott missed it a couple times, and Afonso would have had pay dirt on that. happy he's out there, no doubt. And he said in his presser today that he's feeling as good as he's has since 2019, which is awesome.
Yep.
I know we're going to need him. But to the question, the Golden Coolie question, I'm not sure we needed him. And that's going to sound ridiculous coming from Montana State fan podcast, but we've been so dominant in our running game. I don't know if it made a big difference.
No,
in fact, I thought he was a little bit rusty, a little bit so in there.
No, we would have won this game, I think, regardless if Afonso was in there. And you're right, there was the botched pitch from Tommy to Afonso, who got rocked. He bobbled the pitch and just got crushed. I think if he would have caught that right away, he would have made a cut and at least not gotten blasted. And then, of course, there was
going to get plastered on that one.
I think he would have made at least a cut to not. He would have lost yards. Don't get me wrong. I just think the extra second bobbling it got him destroyed. But then there was the botched RPO or the read option where Tommy left in his gut, and I don't know whose fault it was, but the ball hit the turf. So that's just a chemistry issue right there. And it's good to get him worked in a game where you won, obviously. But it's good to get him worked in because hopefully that stuff will resolve itself moving into William and Mary. So overall, the worst part was, I guess, just the rust and the chemistry issues and the fumbling and those two plays I mentioned. But the best part was just seeing 22 out there. He had that one run off to the right side where he crashed into like 3 Weber State defenders and just did the high step right out of it and got 6 more yards untouched. That's Elliott's really a tough runner and he's hard to bring down and he does that kind of stuff too. But Afonso does it in a kind of a different way. I don't know. It was really awesome to see. It's just good seeing him out there just running the ball. That's really what it boils down to.
Happy to have him back. Absolutely happy to have him back. Different type of runner.
It's going to be crucial as we go deeper into the playoffs. He's got fresh legs.
All right.
Thanks for the question. And you, by default, win a Golden Coolie. So we'll reach out to you on Twitter. You can call it a koozie if you want. We're not going to call it a coolie. You did question why we called it a coolie. You can call it whatever you want. We are our official stance as a LLC is that they are coolies. As a registered LLC in the state of Montana, they are coolies.
She making fun of us because we call it coolies?
Yes. That's all right.
Guess I won't send her a sticker then.
No.
Or a magnet.
Just a coolie.
Just a coolie.
Just for the little jab.
Whatever.
Thanks for the question. We appreciate it. We're just giving you a hard time.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, Thorny, I know we covered a lot of this game yesterday. What else do you want to talk about it?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. We did cover a lot yesterday. We talked more than I think we normally do. We also said several times yesterday that we'll talk more about this on Monday. What were those things? What were we going to talk more about? I know you had mentioned Tommy's, read progressions and missing wide open receivers. Is that something you wanted to expand upon? I think you made pretty good points about that on Sunday night.
Yeah, I don't want to go back there. I'll just get riled up.
Just get riled up again. Why are you riled up about that? I know it's frustrating.
So wide open in the middle of this. So wide open. And you're sitting over there going, well, it's his first year passing the ball. He might not be able to make that throw. How can you not make the throw? There's no one around him. Just look at him and launch it. That's all you got to do. Yeah. I could do that. I could make that play.
No, you could not.
I could.
You could not. That is my number one.
I would bet money I could make that play.
That's my number one beef is average dudes thinking that they could make Division I plays in basketball.
I played quarterback. I could do that. I could make that throw.
So I
could make that throw.
You could make a throw rolling to your right 40 yards down the field. Right
on a
now,
dime, man.
As a 40-year-old man?
Yes, I can. Heck yeah. Give it to me. Pass it over to those mountains, man.
You would get sacked immediately.
No, I wouldn't.
You ever watch that Joe's versus Pros TV show they used to have on? That's you, man. That's you. Thinking, no, I used to play quarterback in middle school. I could pass that ball.
All I'm saying is,
You're
I see a
100%
Cleveland
right.
Thomas, a CT, a Taco Dollar running free and wild down the middle of the field. Pass him the damn ball.
You're 100% right in that pass needs to happen. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that, but just don't sit there and say that you could do it. That's where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to smack
I
you.
could do that one, man. He's that wide open. He's that wide open. If I had a clean pocket, easily I could make that pass.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay. Well, it does need to happen. That's the next step of his game. We've been talking about it all year. But yeah, you did see that one where he threw it to Taco Dallard along the left sideline, and it was a good pickup. It was like a 24-yard gain or something. But Cleveland Thomas was streaking about 15 yards to his right along the hashes. Like, he even raised his hand up. It's like,
He's like, give
hello?
him the Randy Moss. Hey, hit me. I'm wide freaking open.
Yeah.
Hey, Thorny, put it on a Twitter poll for me and give me the results. Could fully make that pass.
Could fully. All right. I'll try and clip from the YouTube highlights of the entire game. Could Ryan Foley make this exact pass? We'll find out.
No, to the wide open. The wide open Cleveland Thomas.
Well, yeah.
Taco
There he is right
Freaking
there.
down
You
the
see him
middle.
right there. Could Foley hit that guy?
Yes. There it is.
My answer is no. 100% no. You would underthrow it by 10 yards into the dirt.
Not even a chance, man.
Cleveland Thomas is
I could
faster
zip
than
that
anybody you
ball.
would have ever thrown the football to.
I could do it. I played sports growing up, man. I know I could do it.
Yeah. All right. Ryan Foley played sports 20 years ago. He could do it. All right. Let's move on, people. Let's move on to something else here. This is a stupid argument.
Let's talk about William and Mary. How about that? 40 minutes in. Let's do it. Let's make the transition.
Sorry.
How about this? I'll put a little bow on Weber. Being able to beat Weber State not only once this year, but twice this year was not something I was going to expect. If you go back I'm looking at the preseason stuff that Thorny and I put out. I think I had an L next to Weber State on October 22nd. I thought we were going to lose to these guys. If you would have told me this year that we would beat these guys twice, once, and then in the playoffs, I would have been like, wow, that's pretty stinking impressive. And so, like, cheers to Montana State, because I think that quietly kind of turns a new page in Montana State athletics, at least for our football team.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that because Weber was really good this year. I actually had them. I don't have it in front of me. I had them like at 7-4. I had us beating them. I had them losing to Utah State at the very least. I probably had them losing to the Grizz. Like, I don't remember. I remember I did not think Weber was going to be all that good this year, but obviously they were. I should never doubt a Jay Hill team. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, beating them twice, and it was just so nice to beat them straight up, and just in a well fought football game, to put that first game to rest, because there were so many weird what ifs in that game, so many crazy things happened in that game that this game. There was no blocked kicks. There was no special teams plays really one way or the other. It was like special teams were just washed out in this game. So we beat them just straight up. Like, we were just the better football team. Our offense was better than their defense, and our defense was better than their offense. Good enough to keep them out of the end zone for most of the game. So just love that. Beating a team twice. I thought Weber State, when we got that draw, was pretty awful. And I was pretty concerned about it. But here we are. Moving on to the quarterfinals, taking down Weber State twice in one season. It's a good feeling.
Weber finishes in 10-3 with 2 losses to Montana State, 1 loss to Sac State. We mentioned that yesterday. I mean, that tells you how good Weber State was from a year ago when they had a down season to rebound. That's a really good team we just beat. And I thought, to me, like, Weber State in the bracket probably like the 5th best team in my estimation. So
I thought of all the first round draws that you could have had, or the second round draws, the first game for any of the seeded teams, I thought Weber State was the worst. Like the best non-seeded team. Hey, question for you. Buy or
glad
sell?
we got him at home.
Jay Hill's coaching Weber State next year.
Oh, there's a Tommy Malott-ism for you. He says that quite a bit. Let's see. There's always the dance he has with the Utah schools. I feel like he's done this a couple times.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to buy he is coaching Weber State next year.
I'm hearing he's going to be the defensive coordinator at BYU because they fired.
He's on the list.
They fired that guy. I don't remember his name, but he was like his name was mentioned briefly for the Montana State head coaching job. Remember? It was like a Hawaiian or Polynesian guy.
Okay, yeah.
The defensive coordinator for BYU. He was potential. Like he was on the candidate list briefly at Montana State, didn't get the job. And now BYU had a terrible season this year. So the Weber State guys at the Big Sky Podcast Network are hearing little whispers about Jay Hill being the DC down in BYU, but we'll see. So
the boys are saying it. Well, that's different.
They're saying they're hearing the potential. They're not confirming anything.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's been doing this dance, right? So we'll see. I think he's maximized. Is he maxed out at Weber State?
Couldn't tell you.
His formula is this as good as his formula is going to ever get?
I kind of think so.
That's kind of how I feel.
10-3. You're just kind of kicking yourself because all of a sudden there's a Montana State team that's a national contender. That's something new, right? Our Bobcats are not just hoping to be in the semifinals. We probably should be in the semifinals. Maybe Montana State's a legit national title contender. So then you get that draw. Tough.
Yeah.
Weber State has the talent to go to the semifinals, but they just ran into us.
Yeah, we're sitting here talking about is a bad draw for us. Well, how bad of a draw was it for Weber State? I mean, they could have gone to like they could have played like Gardner Webb or something. They would have smoked Gardner Webb. And then they would have gone on to play like Sanford or something like that, or Incarnate Word. I think they could handle some of the other seeded teams. So rough draw for Weber State, rough draw for Montana State, but better team won.
We have to talk William and Mary.
That's
almost 50 minutes in.
That's all right. We spent 10 minutes arguing where you could throw a 35-yard pass. So that
put it on the poll.
Good use of time.
Decide.
All right, William and Mary. Let's do a little bit of background on William and Mary. Their first Colonial Athletic Association, CAA. I assume that's what it stands for. The first CAA shared title of any kind since 2015, which is also the last time they played in the playoffs. They won a tiebreaker with New Hampshire. I'm not sure exactly how or why, but they shared a title and they ended up getting the automatic bid from some sort of tiebreaker. Their head coach is Mike London, who was hired in 2019. The previous coach, and I don't have his name down here, but he was at William & Mary for 39 years. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
That's a lot.
I assume he retired. Mike London coached at head coach at Richmond from 2008 to 2009. Interestingly enough, in 2008, they won a national championship at Richmond against Bobby Hauck and the Montana Grizzlies, the first edition of Bobby Hauck. That landed him a gig at Virginia from 2010 to 2015, where he ended up resigning after going 27-46. Then he spends a year at Howard, which is an HBCU, I believe. I'm not entirely sure where Howard is, but they are an FCS school. And then after that, he got hired back at William & Mary and has slowly been rebuilding that program. He went 5-7 his first year, throwing out the COVID season. Then he went to 6-5 last year, and then 11-1 currently this year, which is the most regular season wins in William & Mary history. Only loss to Elon, quarterbacked by none other than Matt McKay. So just kind of some funny tidbits here. And Their number 3 senior wide receiver, Kalen Newton, is the younger brother of Cam Newton, who was at the playoff game in their last playoff game against Gardner-Webb. Cam Newton was in this section leading on cheers, like doing the wave and stuff. It was kind of funny. So there's some background on William and Mary, who ran through the CAA this year, losing only to Elon.
All right. The only thing I know about these guys is they can run the ball.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some crazy stats. So offensively, yeah, they have the fourth best rushing offense in the country, 277 yards per game, like you said.
Yep.
Have you watched much of them?
Guess who's number 2? Us.
Yep.
We're number 2.
Yeah,
like
number 2.
Less than a yard away from being number 1 to a triple option team, Davidson.
Who got trounced?
So basically, we're number 1.
We're number 1.
Yeah.
I said
We're
debatable a few years
people.
ago. It's not debatable. We're the best rushing team in the country.
No, I haven't watched a lot of William and Mary. I watched a little bit of the game on Saturday against Gardner-Webb. I was impressed with Darius Wilson, their quarterback. They look pretty balanced to me.
I've watched a lot of FCS football this year when I have the opportunity in spurts against like just good matchups, national matchups, not within the Big Sky Conference, but not the CAA because they are restricted to some Flow Sports streaming package, which is its own pay model. So they're not part of ESPN Plus. So I've literally watched like no CAA football this year. There's like no highlights anywhere of William and Mary on YouTube. I've checked. It's very minimal. I was able to watch a lot of the Gardner-Webb game because it was on ESPN Plus, and now it's on YouTube, the entire game archived on YouTube. So I was able to watch that game, but other than that, no, I haven't really watched any William and Mary. I don't know very much about them other than what I've been researching here today and what I watched a little bit over the weekend.
Coach Vegan calls them dynamic and deceptive. I thought that was a fun word.
They run a lot of that's the first thing that just jumped out to me. They run a ton of pre-snap motions. They remind me very much of the Bobcats. A guy moving at the, a guy going in motion, and they snap the ball like the tight ends going one way, and they counter and go the other way. They do a lot of similar stuff.
They run outside zone. Danny Yu was talking about that today in his press conference that he was participating in. Yeah, you're right, Thorny. A little bit like the Bobcats. You called them the Bobcat Light.
I mean, that could be wishful thinking. They could just be the Bobcats. Like you said, the Spider-Man meme where just two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. This could be what this is. It's the most similar team I've seen. Actually, now that I think about that, I did watch a good chunk of their FBS win at Charlotte. I remember that now. I watched a little bit of that, like their very first game of the season. They upset FBS team Charlotte. And I remember thinking, like, these guys, they got a running quarterback who can scramble. They reminded me a lot of the Bobcats. Even back then, I remember thinking about that. They have like a 3-headed monster at running back. I think the guy we'll see probably the most is Bronson Yoder, number 9. He's a 5'11", 205-pound senior. He's a tough runner, man. He has 1,165 yards on the season, 177 carries, 6.4 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. He's got about 103 yards per game. He is physical. He's a north and south runner. He's not going to do a lot of cutting or putting his foot down and going. He's just going to get ahead of steam and crash into you and mow you over. So he looked pretty good against Gardner-Webb. The other guy that I saw a lot in Gardner-Webb was Donovan Lester, number 4, who's even bigger. He's 6'2", 210. He's perhaps even more physical than Yoder, but he has better breakaway speed. He's got 536 yards on 76 carries. He's got 7 yards per carry and 8 touchdowns. He looks pretty good, man. Like they do the same thing as the Bobcats. They just substitute running backs in and out. It doesn't matter who's back there. They got a good offensive line. They got a good scheme, and they're going to get their yards.
What do you think of their size?
I haven't looked at the depth chart. I thought they looked big enough. I thought they looked plenty big.
Okay. All right.
I know you had mentioned that you look at some of these other teams and just think they don't pass the eye test necessarily. I thought William and Mary did. And their second leading receiver is their tight end, and he's 6'6", 255.
Yeah, that's a big guy.
That's a big man. His name is Lachlan, which just seems like a very East Coast name to me. Lachlan Pitts, number 31, 6'6", 255. Second team all conference, second leading receiver, 27 catches for 529 yards as a tight end.
Man. Lachlan Pitts. It's going to bring the hurt. All right. Well, I think some early sports betting has us at 10-point favorite right now. I was watching the line against Weber. We kept going, we started like a 7 and it just kept creeping down. I think it settled at 6 by the time game started. I wonder what this one will settle at as well. I don't know, Thorny, does this remind you anything like Austin P a couple years ago? Night game.
No.
Kind of someone coming over from
a little bit, yeah, but I respect the CA as a conference a lot more than the OVC. I believe is where Austin P was playing, at least at the time. There's been so much reshuffling. I don't know who's where anymore, but I'm pretty sure Austin P was in the OVC, which is just a different conference. Like the CA is a better conference. Like Richmond almost beat Sac State. They took them to the wire there. I do think the CAA had 5 teams in the playoffs, and I think William Mary's the only one left standing.
Okay.
But yeah.
So here's kind of my final thoughts on these guys is I'm not so much worried about their run game because I think our run defense is pretty good. I think that's probably the strength of our defense. Where I'm a little bit concerned is how Darius Wilson might carve us up through the air. So, like last week, I think we need to win the time of possession battle. Just continue to have some long, sustained drives, which I think we will. If we can do that, I think we're going to beat these guys.
Yeah, Darius Wilson, man, he had a good game passing against Gardner-Webb. He, I don't know the stats in front of me, but he throws a nice deep ball.
308 or something like that?
Yeah, he throws a nice deep ball. But they also, what they did against Gardner-Webb was very slow developing. Like they had these, he'd stand in the pocket for like 4 seconds before he unleashed the ball. I think a big key will be getting him uncomfortable, getting him scrambling. I'd rather have him run for 8 yards than him throw a 60-yard touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is their 4th leading rusher. He has 522 yards on the season. He's got 6.3 yards per carry himself. He has 167 passer rating. That's pretty good. He's 144 of 221. He's got 2,200 yards roughly, 16 touchdowns with 6 interceptions. He's a lefty, which always presents a little bit different challenge, and he's got a big arm. So he's not gonna necessarily break off into big runs, but he's definitely more mobile than Bronson Barron was, and Barron had some good rushes. He always has some good rushes against the Bobcats. They go for 8 yards and he slides, but a guy who can go for 15 in that situation is a whole different scenario. And the last thing I'll say on their offense is they have 2 first-team all-conference offensive linemen. Must be nice to have your offensive line rewarded after having the best rushing attack in your conference. Must be nice. Take note, Big Sky. That's what you do. When you have a bunch of running backs and a quarterback, and you have the best rushing attack in the entire nation with no single guy over no individual rusher that's breaking any records or having a big standout season, it's probably because you have a pretty good offensive line. Okay, thank you. Rant over.
Have anything on their defense that we should know about?
I got lots to talk about here, man. You're all ready to get out of here. I got tons of stuff to talk about. Their defense, their rushing defense, middle of the pack. 43rd in rushing defense in yards per game. They're 37th in passing.
Doesn't bode well for them.
37th in passing defense. They're 38th overall total yards per game. But where it matters, they're 8th. They're tied for 8th in scoring defense. That's all that really matters. So they very much employ a bend but don't break system. They are 12th in red zone defense, which with how the Bobcats have been performing in the red zone offense is a bit of a concern for me. They got a really good red zone defense, and our red zone offense has been pretty miserable lately.
Well, for one game, we were really good in the Cat Grizz.
Sure. But that's something that you could point to. They're 6th in the nation. These are all national stats at this point. In opponent third down conversion percentage, so they're very good at getting out the field on third down. Whereas the Cats are like, I don't have the Cat stats in any of this, but we're top 10 nationally in third down percentage as an offense. So that'll be a big, I think a big matchup there is, can the Cats convert on third and threes and third and fours and third and fives? They do have a Buck Buchanan Award finalist, the CAA Defensive Player of the Year, their outside linebacker, John Pius, number 8, 6'2", 230-pound senior. He's a really good player, but he only had one tackle in the Gardner-Webb game, so I don't know his status. I think he may have gone out with an injury in that one. I was trying to get a gauge on that. It's hard to find stuff on some of these teams that don't have a bunch of media coverage. So I think they might have some injuries at linebacker, but I'd expect some of their guys to be back that got nicked up at Gardner-Webb. Any game that, it was over in the middle of the second quarter. So anybody that could have come back or maybe had to come back didn't have to.
I was just trying to find some stats on Montana State's defense. Middle of the pack, man. Just like you said.
What's our scoring defense? Do you have it up?
Yeah. I'll pull that up. Scoring defense is 56 in the nation, averaging 27.2 points per game.
Not great, Bob.
No.
I feel like William & Mary's going to score some points. They got a good offense, they got a good rushing attack, and they can hit you over the top if you sneak up on the run. If we're able to stuff their run and force them to pass more than they want to, that's probably the best scenario. But if they get their running game going a little bit, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just enough to keep the chains moving, I think William and Mary can score some points. I'm thinking they could score 20, 30 some points against the Bobcats.
Maybe. I mean, in theory, yes. Where I think Montana State's going to make some hay is getting after the quarterback faster than Gardner-Webb did. That's for certain. I also think we're not going to allow 300 yards of rushing on us. That's for certain. And it's going to be cold, man. I'm just going to tell you right now, that's going to be a real factor. Those guys are going to be, like you said, they're going to be hyped. You're going to one hit. It's probably not going to play that much of a thing, but it's going to be something. Am I being too optimistic here?
I don't think so. I am optimistic about this, but I understand that this is an opponent capable of beating the Bobcats. Absolutely they are.
Yeah.
I don't think that they will, but if they execute the game plan and the Cats come out flat and William Mary gets things rolling off the bat and gets up into a lead, I mean, that's the worst thing the Bobcats can do is get down early, give a team hope right away, and then have to fight your way back, and then potentially, worst case scenario, have to pass your way back into a game. We don't want to do that.
No, we have, though. I mean, we've done that scenario a couple times this year. So, I think Seabass, Valdez, Kenneth tied in, put a corner blitz. We're gonna make some pressure in the back. I like it, man.
I hope you're right.
I think our defense is trending in the right direction. I think our overall stats right now doesn't give really light to how good we are, actually.
I could agree with that statement, but I also think William & Mary's got a good offensive line. I think the quarterback's only been sacked less than 10 times this year. So I think the Bobcat fans.
Did you just make that up?
No, I'm pretty sure I saw that. That is me thinking I saw something at some point in my research. I could be wrong. I just think Bobcat fans think we're just going to overwhelm their offensive line, who's got two first-team all-conference guys on it. I'm not sure it's going to happen.
All right, well, it's going to be a showdown in Bozeman, man. I love it. This is what playoff football should be.
Absolutely. We got a high-ranked, statistically, poll-wise, seed-wise team coming into Bozeman. I mean, that's what the playoffs are for, man. Getting these teams. We'd never played William & Mary before. I don't know that, but not in my lifetime anyway. I don't remember ever playing William & Mary. So we may have, and I haven't done the research on this way back in the day or something, but That's what it's for, man. Like, that's what the playoffs are so awesome. I hear William and Mary fans complaining that they have to come out. How it's a big advantage that's Friday night in the cold weather in Montana. And that's like, one guy even said like the playoff committee wants the Bobcats to win. I mean, you earn that right in the FCS to host football games. This isn't the college football playoff where you go to some neutral site, man. You win all your regular season games, you get to play in your stadium. And I'm sorry that a national tournament includes a site that's in a frigid temperature in Montana. Sorry. That's just how it works. We earned that right. I don't want to hear any complaints about that.
No. Well, let's set the stage, right? So, Montana State in the lights, Friday night, ESPN. We've been there. We've won games in this situation, and we've lost games in this situation.
Yeah.
Do you remember Denarius McGee against Sam Houston State?
I don't want to think about that. No.
Yeah, I remember losing on national television underneath the lights.
That was the rematch.
Just being completely frustrating.
Because we lost in Sam Houston State the year before, and we're like, all right, now it's at home. Now we're going to do our thing. It was like the exact same situation.
Yeah.
Got ran out of
Then a couple years later, when we have Jeff Choate, and we did the same scenario, but we tossed those monkeys off our back against Austin P. That was one of my favorite games, watching Montana State. It was just, everything was rolling that game.
It's kind of a fun thing to think about. Cats have been in the playoffs in 18, 19, 21, and now 22. And the last time was 2015. That's the answer then. That's the last time the Bobcats lost a playoff game at home was 2015. South Dakota State. Or no, that was 14. That was 2014. 2015 was the year we had a losing record and we fired Rob Ash. So last time the Bobcats lost a home playoff game, and we've had several since then. Well, that's 2014.
Was that South Dakota State?
Yeah.
Dakota Prukop?
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be the one. And the next year, it all fell apart. It was already falling apart.
Do you know that Montana State only has one playoff road victory?
Yeah, Sam Houston State.
Yeah.
That just shows you, man, winning in the playoffs is hard. Winning on the road in the playoffs is even harder. Mm-hmm. Like, people don't realize that. Like, it's not some simple one-off bowl game. Like, you gotta keep doing it. It's a hard thing to learn how to do. Like, ask Idaho. Ask most first-time participants in the playoffs. It's hard to learn how to do. It takes a certain mentality, and the Cats have it. And that's why I'm extremely confident in this, because there were so many guys that were on that squad last year that made it to the national championship that have known nothing but winning in the playoffs. Think about that.
Yeah.
Outside, the national championship, right. But we've won a lot of playoff games last few years, starting in 2018 with the Troy Anderson incarnate word victory at home. Kind of funny. Things come full circle. But I'm confident, man. Like, I'm feeling good about this one. I think, to sum it up, I think the Bobcats will be able to score. The concern I think probably most Bobcat fans share is, can we stop them from scoring enough? I think William and Mary will score. I think they'll move the ball. I just don't think that William and Mary will have a chance to stop us at all.
Do you think William and Mary has a better offense than Weber does?
It's a good question. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Their quarterback
do you think it could be a game like...
No, go ahead. You ask your question.
Do you think it could be like a offense we face like Northern Arizona?
No. I mean, they're us. They're Weber State's offense, but better. They have a similar situation. Like, if you want to compare, like, Josh Davis, Dante McMillan, and then their other guy to the guy that, it's a similar. They have, like, each team has like 3 really good running backs. They have a really good big offensive line. They have a quarterback who throws it when they want him to and is efficient and goes for the big home run balls more than anything. I mean, they're very similar. I just think William and Mary does it better. I mean,
to your knowledge, to our limited knowledge, right?
I mean, it's hard to compare schedules. Like, that's always the hard part. I don't know how really good the CAA is and all these kinds of things.
Exactly.
But I do know their quarterback, Darius Wilson, is fourth, or I'm sorry, what is he in the country? Dang it, I had it. Where'd it go? Anyway, as a team, they are the fourth most efficient passing team in the country. But they're 83rd in yards per game. So they don't throw it a lot, but they're extremely efficient when they do.
All right. I'm good to go, dude. I think that's all to be said. Quarterfinals.
I mean, there's more I could talk about on this, but I think we'll call it there. That's a good stopping point. I think I got lots of research here, man. I spent a good chunk of my spent like an hour today researching all this. I'm feeling good about talking about this. I got more to say.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
You really did. You brought it home, man. I got to give it to you.
Well, if anyone wants to talk more about this offline, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll probably be tweeting random stuff about this all week. Feeling good about this, man. I think the Cats are gonna take this one home.
And I hope so. Gonna go back to the semifinals. I didn't think Montana State was going to be as good as they are this year. The funny thing is, like, Montana State's been known for their defense, and all of a sudden we're like this offensive juggernaut.
Right.
I still have a hard time like wrapping my brain around that. I'm like, we should be really good on defense, but no, we're like kick ass on offense. And we're just like, come on, defense. Show up.
My question is, why can't we ever have both? Like, we're either really good on offense or we're really good on defense. The last time we had both was probably those Darius McGee 2010, 2011, 2012 teams. Those are the most balanced, good offenses and good defenses.
But we didn't do anything with those guys, though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
To Sam Houston State.
They weren't built for the playoffs, though. I'm just saying, like, if you want to take like the talent and the scoring and the stats, like that was the best balance we've had. After that, it was either all offense or all defense, and now it's like back to all offense.
Which is weird. Like, I thought we would still be a defensive-minded team. But, you lose Troy Anderson, Daniel Hardy, Chase Benson, Amandre Williams. It's going to feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
those were some dudes, man. We had a great team last year defensively, but I think overall, the Bobcats I said that. Overall, I think we're a better team overall.
Yeah. We're the most team I can remember. As a unit, these Bobcats.
Not one
star powered.
Yeah, no one individual player who gets played all game, even in mop-up duty, even when there's better players piling up stats on our team.
Let's get out of here.
That was a little jab, right? You caught that, right?
I didn't. I wasn't even listening.
You were yawning and like laying back and not even listening to my jab about Robbie Hauk. Okay. All right. Well, let's get out of here. Man, I'm excited about this one. Friday night football. Friday's going to suck working. I know that much. There's no way I'm going to get any work done on Friday. Thanks again to everyone for listening. Thanks for the questions. Question this time, but that's our own fault for not really putting any feelers out there. You can find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. You can find us on Twitter, rrcatcast. You can find us on every other social media platform, basically, at rrcatcast. And you can always find us in Bobcat Nation under our R&R Catcast thread and also the Golden Coolie thread. That's where we kind of field these questions. Thanks again to Manhattan Bank for being our Dank Bank sponsor for this year. And Foley, let's get out of here, man. Let's go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Fly your flag.